Today I want to explain how to find wind in Michigan. The first and most important thing is that it's not the application layer that matters the most. So for instance, this is windy.app. Now it doesn't matter that it's windy.app or any app. What matters is the model. This model currently is set to GFS 2.7. They have available if you pay Icon, ECM, WRF 8, HRRR, DAM, and if you look at Predict Wind, they also have a variety of models. And here's windy.com. Windy.app and windy.com are two separate application layers, and they also use by default different default models. Now let's go to windy.app and look at the default model. The default model is GFS 2.7. That means 27 kilometers is the smallest thing that it can see, which is terrible. Don't use this app because all the pay models you can get other places, and the free model is no good. The resolution's no good. If you look at Predict Wind, it has PWG, PWE. Now these are proprietary models, so they're useful. But it also has ECM, also called the European model, GFS, which is about a 30 nautical mile model. It's no good for us. And HRRR, which is the high resolution model. No, they don't put numbers in Predict Wind, which is not that useful. Let's go to Wind Alert, or also called Kite Surf. It's the same thing. I'll pull up the spot wind map and just click on a spot so we can pull up the models pretty easily. Now, if we look at the forecast, this one, remember the GFS was 27. This is a 2-kilometer model. A 27-kilometer model can't tell the difference between, Detroit and Monroe. It's not that high resolution. This can see 2 kilometers, so it can actually see things like Metro Beach, and it can often predict thermals. The other models you have are, again, remember, we saw GFS in the other apps, we saw the NAM in the other apps, and we saw HRRR in the other apps. So these models are in a lot of these programs. Windy.app is actually the worst of the programs to have because it has no built-in proprietary model, and the default model is terrible. The 27-kilometer model is awful. So don't use that ever. Predict Wind has its own proprietary models, which are useful in addition to other models. Windy.com has a lot of useful free models, but again, it's the models. Let's go back to Wind Alert, or also called iKite Surf, and I want to show you something interesting about this program. Notice these yellow wind meters. Now the important thing about these is these are owned by iKite Surf, and what they do with these meters is they use it to seed their own proprietary model, the WRF 2K and the WRF 3K. These models are the single most accurate models you can use in Michigan, period. They're the best. Now, if you look at another model, you'll notice that there's the HRRR 3K. Now you're thinking that's a very high resolution model. Why won't that work too? And it goes back to those wind meters I was talking about. The national models aren't allowed access to the data from these wind meters. This is owned by iKitesurf/Wind Alert. And because they have these meters, they're able to feed it into their high resolution models. Ever since they added the meter at Metro, Lexington, and Tawas, not only do they have incredibly accurate forecast, high resolution, they can even predict thermals, which is great. You can't do that with any other model. The HRR model has a problem, though. If you look at, for instance, Lake St. Clair, where are the wind meters that you can rely on? Which of these? That's down. That's inland. Anchor Bay is probably the best one. So if you think about things like the NAM models or the HRR models, they have to use these meters. They can't use the iKitesurf meters to seed their models. That's why if there is a wind meter nearby, the WRF 2K and 3K are always going to be your best models. And it's only available in these apps or in the browser for Wind Alert or iKitesurf. Okay, that's step one. Quit paying for windy.app. Quit looking at 27-kilometer resolution models. Use a high resolution model. You can use NAM 3K. You can use HRRR. Now in Michigan, for whatever reason, I'm not sure, the NAM 3K is better than the HRRR. The HRRR apparently is good on the Atlantic and Pacific coasts, but around here, the only national models I would trust is the NAM 3K. Now, if you go down here, there are some spots in Michigan that don't have any good active meters. This meter is on only half the time. This one's down. This is sheltered. The whole western bay of Lake Erie, the models don't work that good here. There is a meter here, but it's, I think, 30 meters up, so it doesn't get the right wind gradients. So there are sections, like right there. And if you go to the Sable Points, you'll notice there's no proprietary meters, and you can't really trust a lot of the data. So in this area, again, the WRF doesn't work that good. They don't have models to seed it. By the same token, if there are any places, look at all these meters up and down the coast, the meter here, here, here. If there are any place that you do see these yellow dots, for instance, Caseville, the WRF will be many, many, many times better than any other model, including the models with the equivalent resolution. So let's take a look at the forecast map from iKitesurf. And this is the quick look, which I don't suggest because it uses part of HRRR to do its modeling. So you want to switch it to the WRF. So we just switch it to WRF, and there's a problem with the WRF where it doesn't show the whole state. So what I suggest is you start with the NAM 3K model. All right. And you use the forecast map. This is Tuesday. Let's take a look at Wednesday. Around 2 p.m. And it looks like there might be a little something here in Lake Erie, some easterly wind. Again, it's not particularly reliable because they don't have a meter in that area yet. And let's take a look at the WRF 2K Great Lakes for that section. All right, so there might be something here. The next step is I usually will pick out the exact location and pull up the model itself. So go to Wind Map. If you're in iKitesurf or Wind Alert, never use live wind. That has some projections that are not useful because you can't really disentangle what model's happening. You want to use either forecast map, which is what I'm using now to look at the forecast, or wind map to pull up where the meters are and where the spots are. So let's go in here, zoom in a little, and I'll click on Sterling, and this lets me look at the day to day. So this is the HRR. Let's get rid of that and switch it over to the best model, WRF2K. Now here's Wednesday, so there might be something going on right here from 2 to 9 o'clock or so. Let me go up to Metro and look at that same spot. And this just lets me look at a glance many hours. It looks like Metro is going to have a nice little easterly flow. And if you'll notice, I'm not going to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the reason is because Michigan wind, though we do have some thermals at Tawas and Metro and some in the upper Lake Michigan area near Muskegon, almost all of our wind is thunderstorm driven, storm driven, storm fronts. And because of that, the wind is unpredictable more than 1 or 2 days out. And also the high resolution models, the 2K, 3K models, don't go out that far. So now I've located a spot of interest, and I'll probably show up there tomorrow. But there's one more thing to do, and that is check if there are any storms. Here you want to go to weather.us and switch it over to the name 3K. By default, this particular spot has a Chicago location. Go to the settings and change it to Detroit. Don't forget to do that. Otherwise, you'll be an hour off. So here's Wednesday at 8. Let's go back to Wednesday around 2. And green means rain, green means go. If it shows red, that's thunderstorms and no-go. And so let's see the form of this. The ECM model, also called the European model, is available. And it also is fairly high resolution, but for whatever reason, doesn't work as well as the NAM 3K. Notice the GFS is here. Again, that's a low resolution model. Don't use that model. So use the NAM 3K. And we can see that you're getting rained on around 4. I'll take that. You can get some more rain at 5, 6, 7. Here's some thunderstorms right here. And you just have to watch a couple ads unless you subscribe. I never subscribe to this service. I only subscribe to iKiteSurf / Wind Alert and 8 and then sunset. So it's going to be very rainy and perhaps worth a try at Sterling tomorrow. So that's how I do it. The first step, take windy.app and delete it and unsubscribe and get Wind Alert or iKiteSurf. Next, pay for it, $10 a month, and then you'll have access not just to these meters, which is good. It saves you, you'll save your money in gasoline just looking at the meter before you go. These meters are all accurate. It's a lot cheaper to look at a meter instead of driving all the way to Metro or Lexington or Muskegon and back. These meters are all accurate. That's worth the money right there, saving gasoline money. But also what you get are the single best prediction services, which is you get the WRF2K. And you also get the same model that is best in the other apps, which is the NAM 3K. You get that too if you want to look at that. So you get the best models, and it's not the prettiest of formats. It doesn't have a guy on a kiteboard telling you what kite to rig. But it's the best model, and it'll tell you where the wind is. I know this is pretty. Look at that. You got these little windmills. You got the air particles moving around. Oh, look, it tells you what size kite you can use, except for there's one problem. It's not accurate. It's pretty, though. I mean, maybe you want pretty instead of accurate. It's the only reason to use that app. Predict Wind is kind of interesting because of their proprietary models, but they don't have the wind meter seeding, which makes it not quite as good as iKitesurf.